Breathtaking.
Majestic.
Beautiful.
Diversity.
Memorable.
Unique.
National Park, National Park.
The creation of the national parks has led to further understanding and development of the importance of preserving nature, the wildlife, and being able to learn from American history. The Organic Act of 1916 created the National Park Service, which protected national parks. This act caused change economically, socially, and intellectually, such as increasing appreciation for wildlife, desire to leave urban areas, and the popularization of automobiles.
Preserving the national parks results in biodiversity, healthy ecosystems, defending endangered species, clean water, and reducing the impact of natural disasters. These results are important because national parks help preserve what matters most. It invites people to learn, grow, and explore.
A national park is a part of the United States that is preserved and protected by the government to sustain ecosystems.
There are 63 official parks, which are all important monuments that shape our country. Today, National Park Services manage 84 million acres of land.
Settlers were traveling out west and discovered scenic places such as Yellowstone River and Yosemite Valley. During this time, Native Americans attempted living and settling along rough, dry, and rocky areas, but it was very dangerous for them along the rims and edges.
According to History.com, prior to the 19th century, most Europeans and Americans viewed nature solely as a resource for food, clothing, and shelter. In Europe, early attempts at nature preservation centered upon the efforts of wealthy landowners to conserve trees for timber and wildlife for game hunting. Before the 19th century, citizens realized how important nature preservation was. Naturalist John Muir, known as the father of national parks, helped preserve the area. He was credited and most known for creating the national park system. The first person to explore areas that would later become the national parks was John Coulter in 1807 and 1808. He explored in order to gain trading experiences. Some members of the Washburn-Langford Doane expedition traveled south starting at Helena to the region of Yellowstone in 1870.
For 11,000 years, Native Americans lived in what are now the national park properties. The government wanted these territories and tried to remove them from the areas. As the Native Americans were being pushed out in 1864, President Abraham Lincoln responded to the pressure of taking care of nature by creating the Yosemite Land Act to protect Yosemite Valley.
Congress of U.S. set 3,400 miles of square land aside in Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana to create Yellowstone, which was first established in 1872. President Ulysses S. Grant signed a landmark bill, the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act, into law on the 1st of March in 1872. It was a bill to make the grounds a park for the public to enjoy and experience.
Theodore Roosevelt, also known as the Conservation President, doubled the national park sites. He signed new legislation that established 5 new national parks, including Oregon Wind Cave, Sully's Hill, Mesa Verde, Crater Lake, and Platte District. Roosevelt had an enactment to create the Antiquities Act of June 8, 1906. This act allowed Roosevelt to proclaim historical marks and have federal ownership of national monuments.
In 1901, Theodore Roosevelt used his authority to protect the public lands and wildlife. He made the change by creating the United States Forest Service. The United States Forest Service established 15 national forests, 51 federal birds, 4 national games, 5 national parks, and 18 national monuments. Theodore Roosevelt National Park was created to honor President Roosevelt and give American citizens an area to experience his beloved Badlands.
Well, when I went to the Badlands, we came there early in the morning, so we woke up to the Badlands, and it was all these browns and rustic colors, and it wasn't all green. It was like sandcastles that were formed by nature. It was amazing. There's no way you can describe it. You have to see it to really appreciate it.
While citizens are enjoying the national parks, they are able to visit the visitor center to gain knowledge and feedback. According to the National Parks Conservation Association, in the mid-1950s, the Park Service initiated Mission 66, a decade-long, billion-dollar program that vastly improved buildings and gave birth to a shiny new idea, the Visitor Center. The Visitor Center is located in almost every national park, which has rangers to help answer questions, give information, and displays.
In 2022, National Park Services received around 312 million recreational visits. Visitors came all over the world to see these extraordinary areas. The parks have also inspired other countries to create parks to display some of their nation's beauty. When people travel, it increases the use of automobiles. The transportation is commonly used throughout all parks. The most visited park is the Great Smoky Mountains National Park with 14 million visitors per year.
National parks help decrease medical costs through increased exercise of exploring the parks. People did this through activities such as biking, camping, climbing, horseback riding, fishing, hunting, hiking, and swimming.
Today, national parks provide ranger-led programs, education, exhibits, and hands-on activities in fun and engaging ways. It also increases transportation use because of traveling visitors. The transportation attracts tourism when visitors spend money creating jobs leading to economic growth. Tourism contributes $35 million to the U.S. economy per year.
The Indiana Dunes are home to diverse species and habitats in the nation. They are formed by the mix of wind, water, quartz, and silica, and they are still able to be changed by nature today. The dunes have taken several of thousands of years to form, with its highest point being 200 feet above Lake Michigan.
The movement to create the park for the public started in 1899, but it was officially authorized in 1966. There are over 15,000 acres, including 15 miles of shoreline and 15 miles of trails. These areas help contribute to the amount of people who visited and continue visiting the park.
In 2021, there were around 3 million visitors that went to the Indiana Dunes, with 60% of them being from somewhere other than the state of Indiana. On a yearly average, they get around 1.6 million people attending the park, according to Brant Bauman, a deputy director of Indiana State Parks.
The Grand Canyon rocks were formed millions, possibly billions of years ago, according to several different scientists, but it became a national park in 1919. It flows into the states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. This park is a popular visitor attraction with about 5.9 million visitors each year. These visitors can view sedimentary and primary sandstone layers that give information about periods of time.
John Muir commented on the beauty of the Grand Canyon, explaining the radiant and unique parts of the earth. Some of this beauty includes the wildlife with about 8,000 known species. These animals have a very large area to live in. The Grand Canyon is about 277 miles wide and its deepest point being about 6,000 feet down. Sudden changes in elevation allow the Grand Canyon to change its own weather, including precipitation and temperature.
In the Grand Canyon, erosion takes place in multiple ways. It is a result of geological processes which took millions of years to form, but as visitors increase, so does erosion. Environmental changes such as movement occur as a result from the actions.
The commitment of the role of national parks has been strengthened through better scientific understanding of protecting wildlife, native plants, and natural resources.
Well, right before I went to Yellowstone, Yellowstone had major fires. And a lot of people were upset because the firefighters didn't put out the fires in the national park, and some people thought they should. But what they forgot to realize is fire is a part of the natural development of national parks. So by the time I got there and I would go and visit some of the areas that were the burned areas, there was already new life beginning to spring up. And that was the most incredible thing I think that I've ever seen.
Preserving these natural resources gives us clean water, air, and an open space for future generations. Previous generations used the lands to fight battles such as the Civil War. These experiences now help the National Park Service interpret cultural stories to better understand society in the parks. They provide living museums that allow our country to understand moments that help shape our nation.
They provide animals food, area to raise children, grow, and rest to threatened and endangered species. Prior to this, hunting bison was a popular activity, causing them to almost go extinct. Because Yellowstone is now protected, the bison population is increasing. Now, the bison population is a safe environment from being in a protected area. The creation of national parks has allowed growth and knowledge in the United States. Citizens can understand the past life of tribes and how they lived, wildlife, stories on events, as well as experience the natural beauty of the parks.
These topics can impact culture because it changes the way people see the U.S., making them live a different lifestyle. The national parks represent important monuments that help shape our nation in various ways.